Hello everyone, Ishani here. I'm so glad you're back. Today I'm joining my fellow Altenew educators for a video hop and a giveaway sponsored by Altenew, and we are talking all about focal points. By the end of this hop, you'll have so many ideas and insight from these amazing educators that you'll be creating cards with beautiful intentional focal points of your own. So I have chosen these bold heels, these mini stamps. Actually, I saw these are no more in stock, but the idea is to teach you the principles, and you don't have to use the same heels. You can use your own elements to create a card which focuses on your focal point. Now, next thing is one of my favorite stencils lately, vintage motif, and I'm going to create a subtle background which will give enough contrast for my eyes to lead me to my focal point. And then one of my favorite lazy girl products, zero waste Wildflower Meadows Die. You're going to love this die. I love zero waste dies. Okay, so I'm going to start with my card stock, which is gray. So this is similar to Altenew's Pure Graphite, and I'm going to lay my stencil over this gray cardstock. And I am taking the obsidian black pigment ink because this is quite jet black, and I am going to apply these beautiful motifs all around my cardstock. So even though my background is actually quite detailed, but detail alone doesn't make something of a focal point, because I'll keep everything very monochromatic and low contrast. It just adds richness without demanding attention, this subtle background. So using this low contrast monochromatic background actually gives the card a bit of sophistication in texture while remaining visually quieter than the focal point that I'll have. With my quick background ready, it's now time to color my focal point, for which I have taken my bold heels and I am stamping them with permanent black ink. This is alcohol marker safe ink, and I'm using some pinks, some peaches, some skin tones. Now these are some colors from the English Country Garden set. So I start with some Peach Perfect and then bring in a bit of rouge and then a lighter color, which is blush, for the inside of my heels. Now for the outer colors, I am using the Sunshine Valley Garden set's pinks, and I am starting with Rubellite, which right now is going to be my darkest color, and then I slowly go ahead and get my second tone, mid-tone, which is Pinkalicious, and wherever you have the darker areas, you feel the shadows will be visible because these two heels are like placed close together. They're going to be shadows where both of them are meeting. So there is the place which will be the darkest. So I use Rubellite and Pinkalicious for those areas. I also am going to specifically leave some highlights, and I'm going to leave my highlight on the extreme sides of my heels on the right, as well on the left heel on the left side. And then some glossy area because we have patent leather heels here. So I go ahead, use the three colors, Rubellite, Pinkalicious and Pink Diamond to color my heels. If you've been part of my live classes or watched my previous videos, you know how I talk about color hierarchy, and here I'm going to give my focal point the strongest color voice. So these pink magenta heels are the strongest color statement on my card, and this is how I create my color hierarchy. The strongest, richest color is reserved for my focal point, and then the later additions I will add some flowers. These will be softer colors. Also this way, because my heels are not very small, they are large enough to immediately register that it is an important element, and they don't even take over the whole card. So scale also matters. I wanted these heels to have enough presence to be immediately recognized as the star of the card, while the smaller flowers will remain as the supporting characters. And now that my patent leather heels are ready, I'm going to fussy cut them and just add a little bit of black marker on the sides. And now it's time to get the zero waste Wildflower Meadows dies out. I'm a fan of these zero waste dies because in one go you get so many flowers and leaves, like foliage for just tucking around on your card. Like for this card specifically, I want my flowers to lead the eye towards the focal point. So I go ahead and I die cut from white cardstock. You can go ahead and use colored cardstock as well. If you'd like to see a video where I've used color cardstocks and die cut my zero waste dies, I'll link it up here. So I'm linking to the butterfly card, which got so much love from you. I was so overwhelmed by the love, and that so many of you watched it. Thank you so much. Now that I have my flowers die cut, I'm just going to add some color to these flowers, and I will not overwhelm the flowers with dark colors because I want my heels, my focal point, to have the strongest color. The flowers that I'm coloring now are just going to be neutral, very light colors that will lead my eyes towards the heels. So I start with the lightest of my yellows. I use Citrus Burst as my first layer, and with a smaller brush I later on get fresh lemon to just darken the centers of my flowers. And similarly for the bigger flowers, I'm using rose quartz, the lightest pink, and get a little bit of puffy heart and for the center of my flowers. So my flower has picked up one of the colors, which is pink, from the heels, but it is in a softer way. And continuing with the softness, I am using the frosted foliage, jade and eucalyptus for the greens. Two of the leaves that are part of my die cut I am coloring with the soft greens. And now it's time for my sentiment, which is also going to do a specific work. I'm using this beautiful sentiment from the Arabesque Medallion stamp set, wishing you a day filled with all the joy you deserve. Well, that means Louboutins. I go ahead, I stamp it with embossing ink and heat emboss it with gold embossing powder. And here I have the sentiment to do a specific job. I want it to be visible, but not become another focal point. Many times we use white color cardstock for sentiments, but I wanted to keep it dark with a little gold for the emphasis on the sentiment. But it will anchor my heels. It is going to be at the bottom of this whole composition, which will allow my heels to remain the focal point. Now it's time to give our flowers a little bit of dimension. I'm using a simple number 7 blending brush. The backside of it is curved, and I'm just going to press the centers of my flower to give a little bit of dimension. And you can also use a thin brush to curl up your petals, or you can use Altenew's Petal Shaper tool. And I just wanted to show you that embellishments don't have to be just around the card. I'm using these beautiful cherry blossom enamel dots, one of them for the center of my pink flower, and some of them will go in the center of the the white flower. And for the yellow flowers, I'm going to use the small little pearl dots. So next I'm going to place my flowers in a way that it creates movement around the heels. I'm going to gently lead the eye back towards my focal point, and I'll just take some of my flowers, not overwhelm the whole background with my flowers. Just one pink, and repeat the pink. I repeated the yellows, I've repeated the white. So repetition is what makes the different elements feel like they belong together. So I'm repeating the colors in the heels, and I'm changing the scale and the intensity so the colors support the focal point instead of competing it. So as I adhere my floral elements and my heels in this small cluster, every element on this card is doing a job. Some elements are attracting the eye, some are guiding the eye, and some are simply there to support the focal point. And if you are liking my video and would like to know a little more about designing a card and playing with different techniques, come and join me for my live workshops that happen once or twice a month on Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. All about that is in the comments down below and my blog. And don't forget to check out the other amazing educators videos where they're talking about the focal point. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope to see you in my live class. Thank you so much for your time. Happy crafting!